All right, welcome back to Beagle Eye Visions. We just got to level 3 of the Temple of Marduk. We're learning about aspects of consciousness. Learning about the trivium, Plato's allegory. Good stuff, good stuff. We're going to keep moving. Here we go.
And this is the mammalian brain. And as you can see, these are correlated to different, categories of species in nature. And there's a reason for this, because these species are actually using those parts of the brain more actively than others. But to continue on to the next section of the brain, it is called the limbic brain, or the mammalian brain. And this really makes possible the emotional responses in beings with the capacity for this, beings that have the access to the mammalian part of the brain. This also makes possible for long-term memories, learning, and motivation. It produces medium cognitive abilities. So the limbic system is where the subcortical structures meet the cerebral cortex. It is connected mostly to the right brain hemisphere. And these are very important to understand, that the R complex is connected mostly to the left brain, and the limbic system is connected mostly to the right brain hemisphere. Now, this is also where you have the pituitary gland. This is also where you have the pineal gland. Now, most of us have heard of the pineal gland, also known as the third eye. It regulates circadian rhythm, or your sleep cycles. It also is a producer of DMT, and it is known as the seat of the soul.
You are illegal.
It is a small pine cone shaped unilateral gland in the body. It's one of the only unilateral glands in the body, whereas most of the other ones are bisymmetrical. There cannot be enough emphasis on how important the pineal gland is, especially when awakening oneself to a higher state of vibration or consciousness. But we also have the hypothalamus that is located in this region near the pituitary gland. Now, I find that the pituitary gland is very interesting. It is known as the master gland, and it regulates mostly all hormone functions, and it helps to control things like blood pressure, the growth hormones, even like the functions of the sex organs. It helps to regulate the thyroid glands and actually all the other glands. That's why it's called the master gland. It helps to regulate metabolism. It helps with the female anatomy and pregnancy, nursing. It is one of the major factors in the endocrine system, and it helps with things like pain relief through endorphins. So it is the controller of all the other glands in the body through hormone production, which is obviously why they call it the master gland. But I also find it interesting that they named it pituitary, and the puta comes from the Egyptian word ptah, P-T-A-H. And this shows how advanced the Egyptians were in their understanding of the anatomy of the brain. They obviously did have a very in-depth knowledge of how we function. And this is why we're going to continuously see a lot of these correspondences between how much of the Egyptian sciences relate to the sciences of modern day. But that's just one example. But Ptah was known as the alchemist, and it makes sense being that he's the master gland, because he is the one who deals with all the chemical production into the body. Ptah was also known as the craftsman, or the god of craftsmen, or craftsmanship. So this also relates to alchemy, but it also relates back to Freemasonry, which we will break down in future episodes.
Oh, sorry, I just have to interrupt. But there is a in the desert of this video game, the area I just passed, there's a temple of Ptah. And that's why one of the reasons why I love this game. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Take a little look at his mythology here. Ptah is said to conceive the world by the thought of his heart and gives life through the magic of his word. So I feel that that's very important, because it has to do with the heart-based consciousness, what we were talking about earlier. And the pituitary is about emotions. The limbic system is about the emotional spectrum of the human being. And Ptah was the alchemist of all of the chemicals that created those. And the words are also a feminine attribute. They are a feminine characteristic. They can be associated to the feminine nature of reality because they're waves, they're frequencies. So the left brain is associated with the masculine component, whereas the right brain is associated with the feminine component. But if we also take a look at the triune brain, we can look at it this way, that the